I still think about the night Simone Khoury kissed me in her car, her hands shaking so badly she couldn't turn the key in the ignition. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to the morning I realized I was going to lose everything, and the woman who walked through my door with a leather portfolio and eyes that could dissect a balance sheet in 30 seconds. The call came at 6:47 a.m., while I was burning toast and trying to convince my daughter Mara that yes, she did need to wear a coat in March in Montreal. My phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. Ministry of Health and Social Services. My stomach dropped. Ms. Okafor, this is Diane Traversy from the Provincial Oversight Committee. I'm calling to inform you that an analyst will be arriving at Centre Nouveau Depart this morning at 9. Her name is Simone Khoury. Please make yourself available for the duration of her evaluation period. How long is that? I asked, watching the toast smoke. 6 weeks. After which she'll make her recommendation regarding the center's continued operation. The line went dead. Mara looked up from her phone. You're doing that thing with your face again. What thing? The thing where you pretend everything's fine but you're actually freaking out. She was 14 and devastating in her accuracy. Is this about your job? It's nothing. Eat your breakfast. You burned it. I got to the center at 8:15. Centre Nouveau Depart sat on the eastern edge of Hochelaga, a former textile factory converted into something the government called a rehabilitation facility, and I called a last chance. We housed 43 kids between 14 and 21. The music room was on the 3rd floor, north-facing windows that caught the winter light. I'd built it myself over 8 years, fundraiser by fundraiser, grant by grant. I was tuning the piano when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Measured, deliberate. She appeared in the doorway at exactly 9 a.m. Simone Khoury was not what I expected. Mid-30s, dark hair pulled back in a way that suggested she'd given up on style and settled for efficient. Charcoal blazer, pressed but not expensive. But it was her eyes that got me. Dark, almost black, and completely unreadable. Thessaly Okafor? Her French had a slight Arabic accent, softened by years in Montreal. That's me. Simone Khoury. Ministry Oversight. I'll be observing your program for the next 6 weeks. She didn't offer her hand. Instead, she looked around the room, cataloging everything. You've been here 8 years, she said. 8 years, 4 months. And your background is in music therapy. Yes. Not social work. Not psychology. Music therapy. The way she said it made it sound like I'd claimed my degree was in interpretive dance. I also have my MSW, if that helps. It doesn't. She opened her portfolio, pulled out a file. Your program costs the province $147,000 per year. The provincial average for similar facilities is $912. Those facilities have a 63% recidivism rate. We're at 41. Because your sample size is statistically insignificant. She closed the file. I'm not here to argue with you, Ms. Okafor. I'm here to observe. Before you find out what happened next, subscribe and drop a comment below telling me if you've ever had to defend something you built to someone who only saw the numbers. Because what came next, I wasn't ready for. Kieran arrived at 9:30, late like always. 17, 6'2", felt like he'd been assembled from spare parts. He'd been at Nouveau Depart for 14 months. Before that, Javi for assault. He didn't speak to adults. Hadn't in 2 years. But he could play drums like he was having a conversation with God. He stopped in the doorway when he saw Simone. It's okay, I said. She's just visiting. He sat down at the drums and started playing. The rhythm was irregular at first, testing, then it settled into something complex. Polyrhythmic, building on itself. I sat at the piano and started following him. Not leading, following. This was the work. After 40 minutes, Kieran stopped. Set the sticks down carefully and walked out without looking at either of us. Simone closed her portfolio. Does he ever speak? No. Then how do you measure progress? I wanted to say, did you hear what he just played? Instead I said, he shows up. That's not a metric. It's the only metric that matters. She looked at me for a long moment. The ministry doesn't fund hope, Ms. Okafor. It funds outcomes. Then you're measuring the wrong things. Her expression didn't change. I'll be back tomorrow. Same time. Simone came back the next day. And the day after that. And every day for 2 weeks. She sat in the corner with her portfolio, watching me work with Kieran, with Eloise, with Samir who was learning bass. She took notes in handwriting so small I couldn't read it. She never smiled. Never frowned. Just watched. On day 12, something changed. It was a Tuesday, 3 p.m. I was working with Eloise on a song she'd written about her mother. Eloise was 19, track marks on her arms she didn't bother hiding. Her mother had died of an overdose when Eloise was 16. She'd been the one to find the body. We were in the middle of recording when Eloise stopped singing. Just stopped and started crying. Angry crying. The kind that comes from somewhere below your ribs. "I can't do this," she said. "I can't keep pretending she was worth this. We can take a break." "No. I'm done. I'm done with this place. I'm done with—" She looked at Simone. "Who the fuck is she?" "She's just—" "Is she going to shut this place down? Because everyone knows that's what's happening." My stomach went cold. "Eloise. Don't lie to me, Thess. You're the only person here who doesn't lie to me." I looked at Simone. For the first time in 2 weeks, she didn't look like a bureaucrat. She looked uncomfortable. "Yes," I said. "She's evaluating the program. So we're fucked." "I don't know yet." Eloise stood up. "I need air." She walked out, slamming the door. After a minute, Simone spoke. "How often does that happen? Breakdowns? Or honesty?" "Both. More often than I'd like. Less often than you'd think." She opened her portfolio, wrote something. Closed it again. "She's right, you know. About the funding." "I know. Then why are you still here?" I turned to look at her properly. Where else would I be? Something flickered across her face. "Most people in your position would be updating their resume. Are you?" "Am I what?" "Updating your resume. Because I can't imagine this is the job you dreamed about when you were a kid. Shutting down programs." Her jaw tightened. "I don't shut down programs. I make recommendations based on fiscal sustainability and operational efficiency." "That's the same thing." "No, it's not." She stood up. "I'll be back tomorrow." But she didn't come back the next day. Or the day after that. On the third day, I got an email saying Simone Khoury would be conducting off-site analysis for the remainder of the week. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt something that might have been disappointment. Drop a subscribe right now because what I'm about to tell you, I've never told anyone. The crisis came on a Thursday night. I was home with Mara, attempting to make dinner, when my phone rang. Night supervisor at the center. Eloise was in medical. Self-harm incident. Ambulance had been called. I told Mara to order pizza, grabbed my keys, and drove to the center. When I got there, the ambulance was already parked outside. I found Eloise in the common room with a paramedic. Her wrists were bandaged. Her face was blank. "Hey," I said, sitting down next to her. "Rough night. I don't want to go to the hospital." Her voice was small. "I know. They'll put me in psych. They'll keep me for 72 hours and then send me back and nothing will be different. Probably. So what's the point?" I didn't have an answer. So I just sat there while the paramedic waited. After 20 minutes, Eloise said, "Will you come with me? To the hospital?" "Yeah. They won't let me stay." "I know. But will you come?" "Yes." We rode in the ambulance. I held her hand the whole way. At the hospital, they took her into assessment, and I sat in the waiting area with burnt coffee. At 11 p.m., someone sat down next to me. I looked up and there was Simone, still in her work clothes, looking exhausted. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I was reviewing overnight incident reports when the call came through." She paused. "That's the official reason." "What's the unofficial reason?" She didn't answer. Instead, "How is she?" "They're keeping her. 72-hour hold." "Will she be okay?" "I don't know." We sat in silence. Finally, Simone spoke. "Can I tell you something off the record?" "Is anything off the record with you?" "This is." She turned to look at me, and for the first time I saw past the analyst. She looked human. Tired and human. "I've been doing this job for 3 years. Most evaluations are easy. The facility is mismanaged, the staff incompetent. I can write the report in my sleep. But you're the first person I've evaluated who actually does what the mission statement claims. And I don't know what to do with that." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Text from Mara. Are you coming home, or should I just assume you forgot about me again? The guilt hit hard. I need to go. Simone stood too. I'll walk you out. At the exit, she said, for what it's worth, what you did tonight, sitting with her. That's not in any manual I've read. It should be. Yes, she said quietly. It should be. I drove home. Mara was asleep on the couch, physics homework scattered around her. I covered her with a blanket and sat on the floor and cried as quietly as I could. Please subscribe and comment below if you've ever felt like you're failing everyone you love, because what happened next week, I didn't see coming. Simone came back on Monday. She sat in her usual corner during my session with Kieran, but something was different. She was watching me instead of watching the program. After Kieran left, she closed her portfolio. I need to see your grant applications. Why? Because I'm trying to understand how you've kept this place running on funding that should have collapsed 3 years ago. I showed her the files. She read through them, her expression getting progressively more pained. These are terrible, she said finally. Excuse me? Your grant applications. They're passionate, but they're structured completely wrong. You're working 3 times harder than you need to because no one taught you how to do this properly. I'm self-taught. I can tell. She looked at me. May I make some edits? Why would you do that? Because someone needs to, and you're drowning. I stared at her. You're supposed to be evaluating whether to shut me down. I'm aware of my job description. Then why are you helping me? She didn't answer for a long moment. Then, because the numbers work. Your recidivism rate is 22% lower than the provincial average. Your kids graduate. They get jobs. The methodology is unusual, but the outcomes are there. She paused. And, because watching you with Eloise in that hospital, I realized the efficiency models don't account for the thing you do. The showing up. There's no line item for that. She started coming after hours. Not officially. She'd finish at 5, then show up again at 7 with coffee and her laptop. We'd sit in my office, and she'd rebuild my grant applications into something that actually made sense. On the 3rd night, Mara came by to drop off my phone. She found us buried in paperwork. You must be Mara, Simone said. Your mother talks about you. She does? Mara looked at me suspiciously. She mentioned you're interested in physics. Maybe. That's a good field. Rigorous. Mara almost smiled. Are you the serious woman? Simone blinked. I'm sorry. Nothing, I said quickly. Don't you have homework? Already done. Unlike some people, I manage my time efficiently. She looked at Simone. Are you going to shut down her program? The room went quiet. I'm going to do my job, Simone said, which is to make the recommendation that best serves the youth in this facility. That's not an answer. No, Simone agreed. It's not. After Mara left, we sat in silence. Finally, Simone said, she's very direct. She gets it from me. No. She gets it from being 14 and watching her mother burn herself out for other people's kids. She closed her laptop. When was the last time you took a day off? I don't remember. Go home, Thessaly. Spend time with your daughter. I'll finish these. You don't have to. I know. But I'm going to anyway. The next morning, I found a flash drive on my desk. All the grant applications rewritten. A note. Asterisk, these should work. Don't thank me. Just submit them, asterisk. I didn't see Simone for 3 days after that. On day 37, I got a call from the ministry. There would be a presentation to the Oversight Committee on day 42. A private contractor would also be presenting an alternative operational model. What kind of contractor? Westmount Solutions. They specialize in streamlined therapeutic interventions. My stomach dropped. You're putting this out to bid? We're exploring all options, Ms. Okafor. If you want to know what happened in that boardroom, hit that like button, comment what you think, and subscribe right now, because this is where I learned something about Simone Khoury that changed everything. The presentation was in a conference room downtown. I showed up at 1:30, wearing my only blazer, hands shaking. The Westmount rep was already there. Garrett Beecham, gray suit, warm smile, handshake calibrated for confidence. The committee filed in. Diane Traversy sat at the head. Let's begin. Mr. Beecham, you'll present first. Garrett's presentation was 40 minutes of polished efficiency. Graphs trending upward, cost projections curving down. Evidence-based behavioral modification, streamlined interventions, outcomes-focused care delivery. Our model reduces operational costs by 47% in the first year, he said. One committee member raised her hand. What's your recidivism rate? 32%, which aligns with provincial standards. Centre Nouveau Depart's rate is 41%. Yes, but their operational costs are higher. I'm asking about outcomes. When he finished, Diane looked at me. Ms. Okafor. 10 minutes. I stood up. My prepared remarks felt inadequate. I don't have slides, I said. I have names. Kieran, who plays drums now instead of breaking things. Eloise, who writes songs about her trauma. 43 kids who show up every day to a place that sees them as people, not problems. We need concrete data, Diane said gently. My recidivism rate is 22% below provincial average. My graduation rate is 34% above. Every kid knows my phone number, and they know I'll answer. I sat down. It wasn't enough. You can't fight spreadsheets with feelings. Ms. Khoury, your recommendation? Simone stood. She'd been sitting at the far end, so still I'd almost forgotten she was there. She moved to the front with her portfolio and laptop. I've spent 6 weeks evaluating Centre Nouveau Depart, she said. My findings are clear. Here it comes, I thought. Centre Nouveau Depart operates at a financial loss, Simone continued. A spreadsheet filled the screen, all my failures in red. Ms. Okafor's approach is expensive, time-intensive, and difficult to scale. By every conventional metric, this facility is failing. Garrett leaned back. Victory posture. Simone advanced to the next slide. However, that word hung in the air. Mr. Beauchamp's proposal, while financially attractive, presents significant operational and legal concerns. A new image appeared. His behavioral modification protocols are derived from adult populations. The studies cited are from American correctional facilities, not Canadian youth programs. The pharmacological interventions require consent protocols we cannot legally obtain from minors without parental involvement, and 68% of Centre Nouveau Depart's residents are Crown wards with no legal guardians. Garrett's smile thinned. Furthermore, the outsourced telehealth counseling services are provided by practitioners not licensed in Quebec. This violates Section 37 of the Professional Code. She let that sink in. But the real issue is safety infrastructure. She pulled up architectural renders. These open-plan spaces? No privacy partitions for crisis management. This rooftop garden? No safety barriers meeting provincial codes. These decorative cables? Potential ligature points. Unless you're installing safety netting across the entire structure, adding approximately $800,000 to renovation costs, you have a facility that cannot pass inspection. The room went silent. So your recommendation is to maintain the current model? Diane asked. No, Simone said. My recommendation is to redesignate Centre Nouveau Depart as a provincial pilot program for trauma-informed youth intervention. I stopped breathing. Ms. Okafor's outcomes data is statistically significant. A 22% reduction in recidivism represents approximately $4.6 million in avoided incarceration costs over 5 years. Her model works. It doesn't scale, but it doesn't need to. It needs to be protected and studied. She pulled up a funding proposal. I'm recommending a 5-year protected pilot designation with increased operational funding. This positions Quebec as a leader in alternative rehabilitation models. We study what Ms. Okafor does, document it, and determine which elements can be adapted broadly. She looked directly at me. The metrics don't capture everything. But sometimes the things we can't measure are the things that matter most. The committee went into closed session for 40 minutes. Garrett left without saying goodbye. I sat in the hallway, unable to process what had happened. Simone sat down next to me. We didn't speak. Finally, the door opened. Ms. Okafor, Ms. Khoury. We've made our decision. Inside, Diane said, we're accepting Ms. Khoury's recommendation. Centre Nouveau Depart will be redesignated as a provincial pilot program, effective immediately. I tried to say thank you. My throat wouldn't work. There is one condition. Ms. Khoury will remain as program advisor for the first year. She'll help establish proper documentation protocols. I looked at Simone. She was already looking at me. Is that acceptable? Yes, we said simultaneously. I walked out in a daze. Made it to my car. Sat with my hands on the wheel, not turning the key. A tap on the window. Simone stood outside. I rolled down the window. Cold air poured in. You saved it, I said. I optimized resource allocation. That's not what you did. She didn't answer. Just stood there. Why? I asked. Why did you do all of this? Because the data supported it. That's not an answer. No, she agreed. It's not. We stared at each other. Finally, she said, you're shivering. Get out of the car. What? Get out of the car, Thessaly. I did. Stood there in the parking lot. Simone took a step closer. I spent 3 years doing this job, she said. Most programs deserve to be shut down. I could write those reports in my sleep. And mine. Yours was different. You were different. You do the work nobody else wants to do, with resources nobody else could manage, and you do it because you actually care. And I couldn't be the person who destroyed that. Simone. I'm not good at this. At the things I can't measure. But I've been going home every night thinking about you sitting on that hospital floor with Eloise. About you playing piano with Kieran. About the way you look at your daughter like you're failing her when you're actually showing her what it means to care. My heart did something complicated. I don't know what this is, she continued. This thing between us. But I need you to know that I see you. Not your program. Not your data. You. The parking lot was empty except for us. The sun was setting. I see you too, I said. She took another step closer. This is inappropriate. We'll be working together. There are professional boundaries. Ethical considerations. I know. I should leave. Probably. She didn't leave. Instead, she reached out slowly. Her fingers touched my wrist, and I felt my pulse jump. Your heart rate is elevated, she said softly. Yours is too. Tachycardia. Physiological response too. I kissed her. Cut off whatever clinical explanation she was about to offer. Just leaned in and kissed her in the parking lot at sunset, and she made a sound somewhere between surprise and relief and kissed me back. It was clumsy and desperate and probably a terrible idea. It lasted maybe 3 seconds before we both pulled back, breathing hard. That, Simone whispered, was not in my analysis. No, but she was smiling. My car is warmer than this parking lot. Is that an invitation? It's a practical observation about thermal efficiency. I laughed. You're unbelievable. Get in the car, Thessaly. Her Subaru was exactly what I expected. Clean, organized, a travel mug with the ministry logo. Classical music played when she started the engine. We sat with the heater running. Finally, she said, I need to tell you something. My stomach dropped. Okay. The committee decision. It wasn't unanimous. 3 members wanted Westmount. The vote was 4-3. But you convinced them. No. Diane had to use her authority as chair to break the tie. If she'd been on vacation, your program would be gone. The warmth from the kiss evaporated. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know how close you came. And because I broke rules for you. I helped you with those grants. That's a conflict of interest. If anyone finds out, I could lose my job. Then why did you do it? Because I couldn't watch you fail. Her voice cracked. I've watched a lot of programs fail. But what you've built, I couldn't let that disappear. There's something I need to tell you too, I said. She waited. Eloise. She's not just a client. I took a breath. 5 years ago, I tried to have another baby. Fertility clinic. It didn't work. But while I was there, I met a woman. Younger, 19, pregnant, terrified. Danielle Mercier. She was deciding whether to keep the baby. We talked. I told her that wanting to protect your child, even if it means letting them go, that's love too. Simone was very still. She kept the baby. Named her Eloise. I didn't see her again until 3 years later when Danielle overdosed and Eloise entered the system. Does Eloise know? No. And she can't. If anyone finds out I have a prior relationship with a client, it's an ethics violation. I could lose my license. The pilot program would be compromised. Simone was quiet. Then, Why are you telling me this? Because you took a risk for me. And I need you to know what you're getting into. She turned back to the steering wheel, staring ahead. The music played. The heater hummed. Finally, the night Eloise was hospitalized. You sat with her for 20 minutes before she agreed to go. Yes. Most therapists would have called security. Standard crisis protocol. I'm not most therapists. No. You're someone who remembers meeting a scared 19-year-old 5 years ago, and when that woman's daughter shows up in your program, you give her what her mother needed and never got. My throat tightened. I'm not going to tell anyone, Simone said. About Danielle. That stays here, between us. Simone. But you need to be more careful. Maintain appropriate distance, especially now that you're a pilot program. You'll have more oversight. I know. Can you do that? I thought about Eloise's face in that hospital, asking me to stay. I don't know. That's honest. She took my hand. We'll figure it out. I'm your program advisor for the next year. Might as well make myself useful. This is complicated. Everything worth doing is complicated. We barely know each other. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. I know you buy your blazers from discount chains. I know you play F minor when you're anxious. I know you've been late to pick up your daughter 19 times in 6 weeks and you feel guilty about everyone. She squeezed my hand. I know enough. The thing about falling for someone is you never see it coming. Where do you live? She asked. Rosemont. 3rd floor. 40-minute commute. That's inefficient. Everything about me is inefficient. Yes, she said, smiling. But your outcomes are exceptional. She drove me home. Pulled up outside my building and put the car in park. Thessaly. Yeah, this thing between us. We need to be smart. The ministry can't know. Your staff can't know. Not until the pilot is established. If anyone thinks our relationship influenced my recommendation. I understand. Do you? Because I could lose everything. And so could you. Then we'll be careful. She looked at me. I'm not good at this. At the personal thing. I've spent 3 years building walls, and you just walked through all of them. Maybe you wanted me to. Maybe I did. She touched my face briefly. Go inside. Hug your daughter. Tell her you saved your program. Thessaly. Yeah. I'll see you Monday. 9 a.m. Documentation protocols. That's very romantic. I'm aware. She smiled. Go. I climbed the stairs, unlocked the door, found Mara doing homework. She looked up. You're smiling. Am I? It's weird. Did something good happen? Yeah, something good happened. Is the program staying open? Yes. She stood up and hugged me. Actually hugged me. We held each other in the kitchen, and I thought about all the times I'd been late, all the guilt I'd been carrying. I'm sorry, I said. For what? For being late. For working too much. Mom. She pulled back. I get it. The kids need you. I'm okay. You're 14. You shouldn't have to get it. Well, I do. So stop feeling guilty and just be here when you can, okay? That night, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Simone. I'm saving your number under documentation consultant. You should do the same. Good night, Thessaly. I saved her number. But not as documentation consultant. Just as Simone. The next morning, another text. There's a cafe near your building. Olympico. Meet me there at 10? I showed up at 9:55. She was already there with 2 coffees and her laptop. You're early, I said. I'm always early. She slid a coffee toward me. Black, 2 sugars. You remembered. I document everything. We spent the morning working, but every so often her foot would brush mine. Or our fingers would touch. Small moments that felt enormous. Around noon, she closed her laptop. I should tell you something. My stomach tightened. The committee meeting. One of the 3 who voted against your program was Marcel Dumont. He's influential. After the meeting, he pulled me aside. What did he say? He told me I was making a mistake. That I was letting personal feelings compromise my judgment. She looked down. He was right. Simone. Let me finish. He said he was going to be watching the pilot closely. And watching me. If there's any indication my recommendation was influenced by anything other than data, he'll file a complaint. Can he do that? Yes. If he does, they'll investigate. They'll look at everything. The grants I helped you with, the after-hours time, all of it. If they find a conflict of interest, I lose my job. And your pilot gets reviewed under a microscope. The coffee tasted like ash. So what are you saying? I'm saying we need to be more than careful. We need to be invisible. She took my hand. But I'm also saying I don't care. Because for the first time in 3 years, I feel like I'm doing work that actually matters. Because of the pilot program? Because of you. I wanted to kiss her. Instead, I squeezed her hand. Then we'll be invisible. The pilot program launched in April. Simone came twice a week for advisory sessions that were really excuses to be in the same room. We'd sit with the door open, laptops out, looking like we were discussing protocols. Sometimes we were. But mostly we were stealing moments, her hand brushing mine, her foot hooked around my ankle under the desk. We were so careful. Never arrived together. Never left together. Never let anyone see us as anything other than colleagues. But it was exhausting. The kids noticed. Kieran started bringing 2 coffees to sessions, one for me and one for the serious lady. Eloise asked me point blank if Simone was my girlfriend. No, I lied. She's the program advisor. That's not what I asked. She's helping us maintain funding. Eloise looked at me with knowing eyes. You're a terrible liar, Thus. At home, Mara was asking different questions. You're happier, she said one night. Is it because of Simone? I nearly choked. What? The documentation consultant who texts you every morning? The one whose name makes you smile? That's Simone. I don't. Mom. Please. I'm 14, not oblivious. I set down my fork. It's complicated. Because she works for the government? Because if anyone finds out there's anything between us, it could compromise the pilot. It could cost her her job. It could ruin everything. Mara was quiet. Then, so you're hiding. We're being careful. There's a difference? Yes. Okay. But for the record, I like her. She's weird, but in a good way. That night, I texted Simone. Mara knows. Her response, how much? Enough. She approves. Long pause. Then, I'd like to meet her properly. When? Sunday. Dinner. If you'll have me. Sunday dinner became a thing. Simone would come over, always bringing something. They'd sit at the kitchen table discussing particle theory and probability. Mara would light up, and I'd sit there feeling grateful and jealous and happy all at once. After Mara went to bed, Simone and I would sit on the couch, not quite touching but close. Talking about everything and nothing. Marcel is asking questions, she said one night in May. What kind? Why I'm spending so much time at your facility. Why I'm so invested. He's building a case. For what? For a standards review. He thinks I compromised my objectivity. Did you? She looked at me. Yes. Completely. And I'd do it again. Simone. But we need to be smarter. Starting next week, I'm reducing site visits to once a month. All other work will be remote. So we just stop seeing each other? At the center, yes. But here, she took my hand. Here we keep building this. And if Marcel finds out, then we deal with it. She shifted closer. But I'm not giving you up, Thessaly. Not for him, not for the ministry, not for anyone. She kissed me then. Not desperate, but slow, deep. Something that felt like a promise. For 3 months, we maintained perfect professional distance at work while building something real in private. It was working. The pilot was successful, the kids were thriving, the ministry was happy. And then everything fell apart. If you want to know what happened next, you better hit that subscribe button, like and comment what you think right now, because this is where the story takes a turn nobody saw coming, least of all me. It was a Tuesday in July. I was running a group session when my phone buzzed. Emergency call from the hospital. Eloise. I ran. Got to the hospital, found Eloise unconscious. Track marks fresh. Overdose, the doctor said. We administered naloxone. She's stable. I sat with her, held her hand, watched her breathe. When she woke, she started crying. I'm sorry, she said. I fucked up so bad. Eloise. I saw her. In a dream. My mom. She was disappointed. My heart broke. Your mom loved you. How do you know? Because any mother who looks at you would love you, I said. It wasn't a lie. But it wasn't the truth either. She closed her eyes. I want to get clean. Actually clean. Then we'll make that happen. Promise? Promise. I stayed until visiting hours ended. Drove back to the center to finish paperwork, found Simone in my office looking grim. We have a problem, she said, closing the door. What kind of problem? She opened her laptop, turned it toward me. An email from Marcel Dumont to the Professional Standards Committee. Formal complaint conflict of interest, Simone Khoury. I read it. My stomach turned to ice. It detailed everything. The grant applications she'd helped me write. The after-hours visits. The excessive time spent at my facility. It questioned her objectivity, her professionalism, her recommendation to the Oversight Committee. And at the bottom, furthermore, sources indicate that Ms. Khoury and Ms. Okafor may be engaged in a personal relationship that predates and influenced the pilot program designation. I request a full investigation. Sources? I looked up at her. Who? It doesn't matter. They're investigating. They're going to review everything. Can they shut us down? If they find evidence that my personal feelings influenced my professional judgment? Yes. She sat down, exhausted. And they will find evidence. Because I did let my feelings influence my judgment. I helped you because I was falling for you, and I knew it, and I did it anyway. The room felt too small. So, what do? I resign. Remove myself entirely. They investigate me, but you and the program are protected. No. Thessaly. No. You don't get to fall on your sword for me. We're in this together. If I don't resign, they'll dig deeper. They'll find out about Danielle. About your connection to Eloise. Everything will come out. She was right. There has to be another way. There isn't. She stood up. I'm submitting my resignation tomorrow. You'll get a new advisor. The pilot program continues. The kids are protected. And us. She looked at me, and I saw everything in her face. There is no us. There can't be. Not if we want to protect what we built. Simone. I'm sorry. She picked up her laptop. This was always going to end this way. I didn't. Yes, you did. From the beginning, we both knew this was impossible. She walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth, these 3 months with you, they were the best of my life. And I don't regret any of it. She left. I sat there staring at the email, feeling something inside me shatter. I went home. Told Mara what happened. She listened, then said, "So you're just giving up?" She resigned. She's protecting the program. No. She's running. And you're letting her. Mara stood up. Mom, you spent 8 years building that program. You fought everyone who said it couldn't work. And now you're going to let Marcel destroy it because he's mad that Simone chose you over his approval. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You love her. She loves you. You did good work together. The kids are thriving. Those are facts. Everything else is just fear. She was right. What do? I asked. You fight. Like you always do. I spent that night going through every file, every document, looking for something that could prove Simone's recommendation was based on data, not feelings. And then I found it. Buried in the ministry's own files, a report from 2 years ago. An evaluation of youth rehabilitation facilities authored by Marcel Dumont himself. In it, he'd recommended shutting down 4 facilities and privatizing their services. The company he'd recommended? Westmount Solutions. I dug deeper. Found corporate filings, board memberships, financial disclosures. Marcel Dumont's wife was on the advisory board of Westmount Solutions. Had been for 3 years. He'd been pushing privatization while his family had a financial stake in the outcome. I called Simone at midnight. She answered on the first ring. Thessaly. Marcel Dumont's wife is on the board of Westmount Solutions. He's been recommending their contracts for 2 years while she's been collecting advisory fees. Silence. Do you understand what that means? He didn't challenge your recommendation because he cared about professional standards. He challenged it because you cost him a contract. We can't prove the connection. Yes, we can. It's all in the public filings. He has a conflict of interest. An actual, documentable, illegal conflict of interest. More silence. Then, if we report this, he goes down. His complaint gets dismissed. Your resignation isn't necessary. But the investigation. Let them investigate. We have nothing to hide. You helped me write better grant applications. You advised me on best practices. You did your job exceptionally well. The fact that we fell for each other doesn't negate the validity of your work. Thessaly, they'll still come after us. Let them. I'm done hiding. I'm done being careful. You saved my program, you saved those kids, and you did it with integrity. If the ministry can't see that, then fuck the ministry. I heard her breath catch. You can't mean that. I absolutely mean that. Tomorrow morning, we file a counter-complaint. We expose Marcel's conflict of interest. We show his complaint is retaliation. We fight. And if we lose? Then we lose. But at least we lose together. Another pause. Then, so quietly, okay. Okay. Let's fight. We met at her apartment at 6 a.m. Spent 4 hours building the case, documenting everything. At 10, we walked into the ministry building together, no more hiding. Just 2 women who'd done good work and refused to be punished for it. We filed the complaint. Requested a full ethics review of Marcel Dumont's involvement with Westmount Solutions. Demanded the investigation into Simone be suspended pending the outcome. Marcel tried to block it. But the evidence was too clear. Within a week, he was suspended. Within 2 weeks, he'd resigned. The complaint against Simone was withdrawn. The pilot program continued. Simone was reinstated as advisor. And this time, when she came to the center, she didn't sit in the corner. She sat next to me, partner in every sense. 6 months later, November, first snow falling outside my office window. I was reviewing the mid-year evaluation when Simone walked in with an envelope. What's this? Open it. Inside was a housing allocation approval. For a 2-bedroom apartment in the family complex adjacent to the center. 4-minute commute instead of 40. You reopened my application, I said. I optimized resource allocation. But she was smiling. There's something else. She handed me a second document. A job posting. Provincial Director of Youth Rehabilitation Services. They want someone to oversee all youth facilities in Quebec, she said. Someone who can implement trauma-informed care models across the entire system. Someone who's proven it works. They want me. They want both of us. You as director. Me as chief policy advisor. We'd be building something bigger than the pilot program. We'd be changing the entire system. What about us? Working together officially. Would be completely acceptable. They're separate divisions. No supervisory relationship. No conflict of interest. She sat on the edge of my desk. We could do this, Thessaly. Actually do this. Build the system we've been dreaming about. And we wouldn't have to hide? No more hiding. I looked at her, this woman who'd walked into my life with a portfolio and unreadable eyes, who'd saved my program and stolen my heart. Yes, I said. Let's do it. She kissed me, right there in my office, door open, not caring who saw. When we pulled apart, she said, there's one more thing. What? Eloise. She asked me about your connection to her mother. My blood went cold. What did you tell her? Nothing. But she's smart. She's putting pieces together. Simone took my hand. I think you should tell her. The truth. All of it. If I do, she'll understand. And you'll stop carrying a secret that's eating you alive. She was right. I told Eloise the next day. Sat her down in the music room and told her about meeting Danielle in that clinic waiting room. About the conversation we had. About how when Eloise showed up in my program, I'd recognized her mother's eyes. She was quiet for a long time. Then, does that mean you've been helping me because of guilt? No. I've been helping you because you deserve help. And because your mother wanted better for you than what she'd had. Did my mom ever talk about me? Yes. She said you were the best thing she'd ever done. Even if she didn't know how to show it. Eloise cried. I held her. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. That was a year ago. Now, I'm sitting in an office downtown with Provincial Director on the door. Simone's office is 3 floors up. We have lunch together most days. Dinner at our apartment at least twice a week. Mara is 15 now, still devastatingly perceptive, still making me laugh when I take myself too seriously. The pilot program is being replicated across Quebec. 12 facilities so far, 6 more in development. Kieran graduated last month, enrolled in music production at Cégep. Eloise is 2 years clean, working as a peer counselor, helping other kids navigate the system. And Simone and I, we're building something that didn't exist when we met. A system that measures success not just in recidivism rates and budget lines, but in the kids who show up, who stay, who believe they deserve a second chance. We still argue about methodology. She still thinks I'm operationally inefficient. I still think she relies too heavily on data. But we're doing it together. Last week, she asked me to marry her. In the car of all places, sitting in traffic on the Champlain Bridge. No ring, no ceremony, just a question. Would you want to make this permanent? I said yes before she finished the sentence. We haven't set a date yet. We're too busy building the system we dreamed about. But we will. Because for the first time in my life, I have time. Time to build something that lasts. Time to be present with Mara. Time to sit on the couch with Simone on Sunday mornings and do nothing but exist together. The ministry called 3 days ago. There's a national initiative launching next year. A complete overhaul of youth rehabilitation services across Canada. They want a director. They want someone who's proven the model works. They want me. Which means leaving Quebec. Leaving the apartment we just moved into. Leaving Mara's school, her friends, everything we've built. Simone says I should take it. Says this is the opportunity to change the system nationally. Says she'll come with me, that her work is portable, that we can build something new together. But Mara's not so sure. She's 15. She has a life here. And I've already asked her to sacrifice so much. So I'm sitting with the decision. Not rushing it. Not letting fear or ambition or anyone else's expectations make the choice for me. Because I've learned something over the past 2 years. The things worth doing, the things worth building, they don't come with easy answers. They come with complexity, with trade-offs, with hard choices that don't fit neatly into operational frameworks or 5-year plans. But they also come with love. With partnership. With a 14-year-old girl who became 15 who tells you when you're being stupid. With kids who learn to play drums and write songs and believe they deserve better. With a woman who walks into your life intending to shut you down and instead builds you up. I don't know what I'm going to decide about the national role. Maybe I'll take it. Maybe I'll stay. Maybe there's a third option I haven't seen yet. But whatever I choose, I won't be choosing alone. I'll be choosing with Simone, with Mara, with all the people who've become my family in ways I never expected. And that, more than any outcome data or recidivism rate or funding approval, is what success actually looks like. The things we can't measure. The things that matter most. That's the story. The story of how I almost lost everything and found something I didn't know I was looking for. The story of how one woman with a portfolio and unreadable eyes walked into my life and stayed. Comment, like, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Drop a comment below and tell me what you'd do in my position. Take the national director role and uproot everything, or stay in Quebec and keep building what we've started. Your thoughts might just help me decide. Sometimes the best outcomes are the ones you can't measure. But you can feel them. And they're worth everything.